Here are the brutal facts of how I failed in retirement the first time and how I plan to redeem myself this time. I retired a year ago from public education. I was in public education for 30 years and I am relying on my teacher pension only. I don't have any investments or stocks or bonds or 401ks or anything like that. I am strictly relying on what I was guaranteed in teacher retirement. I waited until I could retire with full benefits or full retirement, which full I think means 80% of what your highest 3 years average paycheck would be. So if you take your teacher retirement or your teacher paycheck, the exact take-home pay, take 80% of that, that is almost to the number of what I am bringing home for retirement at this time. After taxes and whatever deductions come out of my check, my retirement check, I make approximately $1,000 less per month than I was making when I was working. So that's a $1,000 pay cut. Plus, I have to pay my own insurance, and I pay for health insurance and dental, and that comes out to $600 a month. So if you think about it, that is $1,600 a month pay cut. Now, if you are living paycheck to paycheck, I don't recommend retiring, and I don't think I was necessarily living paycheck to paycheck. I had money left over each month, but not a lot. And when I retired, I was retiring from my job and from all of the things, the stress of working and just being at work. And I wasn't really retiring to anything. I knew what I was going to make as my retirement. I knew that I was going to have money coming in. I just didn't know what I was going to do after I retired, as far as, did I need money? Did I want money? Or did I just want to keep working? When I retired last year, I did have credit card debt, probably a significant amount of credit card debt, and I did refinance my home to pay off the biggest portion of my credit card debt. Then, just as a blessing from above, I was offered an interim principal position so I could collect my retirement and another principal's salary, and that allowed me to pay off all of my debts outside of my car and my home. It allowed me to buy my daughter just turned 16. It allowed me to buy my daughter her car cash. It allowed me to afford all of the senior expenses for my daughter who just graduated. Her college is paid for, so I do not have to pay for her college. But that last year's job as an interim principal brought me to even, and now I don't have any credit card debts. I don't owe on anything other than my house and my car. A recap is, I retired last year in May, not this May, but the year before. I failed miserably. I was sad. I hadn't really budgeted correctly in the beginning, but before I was offered the job, I was back at a reasonable amount of money in budgeting. I unretired, and then now I've retired again. So this is like my literal retirement. I am not going back to work full time. I do have a little bit of income from something I'm doing, and I'll share that with you in just a second. But as of September 2024, I am retired. I still am $1,600 less than what I was bringing home when I was working. However, and I've shown this and talked about this in some of my other videos, but I have been substitute teaching. I've substitute taught 3 times. I make in the bank $130 a day from subbing. And if I subbed only 12 times in a month, that would make up for the $1,600 pay cut. It's not really a pay cut. It's just when I retired, that's how much less. And then I have to pay my own insurance. I only pay my insurance, health insurance. My children are on their dad's insurance, and then I pay for dental for all of us. Let's talk about budgeting, and I am not going to claim to be a rigid budgeter, a penny pincher, frugal, or I don't consider myself someone who just spends everything. I feel like I'm an average person in the middle, just living day to day. The first thing that comes to my mind when I talk about budgeting are gas and groceries. And gas is probably where I'm going to save more than anything I've ever saved in my life. I've driven an SUV since my kids were little, and in October last year, I traded in my SUV for a small car. And it is a cheaper payment. I save $100 in my car payment, so yes, I still have a car payment. And then I haven't figured out my savings in gas. I drove a 4Runner and it was $45 to $60 a tank in gas. I was driving to and from work, 30 miles to work, 30 miles back every day. I was filling up my tank maybe 2 times a week. My youngest daughter didn't drive yet, so I was taking her back and forth to everything. My oldest daughter was still in sports last year, so we were driving all over Southwest Missouri to go to sporting events. Now, my youngest daughter is driving. She has her own car. She pays her own gas because she has a job. I am paying $100 less in a car payment, and I only spend $25 to $30 a week, maybe, in gas. So my gas budget is probably going to be $125 a month. I'm just averaging that out. I don't know yet because I just felt like gas was just an expense I just kept putting in my car, and I was driving everywhere, and I just never really kept that good a track of it. And I have been keeping track in my little car, and it is a tremendous saving. And a ton of my friends are wanting to buy cars. I don't know if I recommend buying a car just because I was up high in this SUV and now I like sit on the ground in this little car, but I love it. And it was probably my best quote unquote retirement downsizing purchase. I have no plans of downsizing my house or getting a smaller house or a smaller payment. I don't pay very much for my house payment anyway. I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. I have a lot of equity in my house. I do consider looking for someplace else once my daughter graduates from high school. I don't know that I need a house to take care of and mow grass and fix up. And in my last video, I posted how I repair my house. I don't know that this is something that I need to keep and maintain after she graduates, but my house is not a huge expense. I don't need to move to a foreign country or move somewhere cheaper right now. I feel like my house payment is reasonable. What I am thinking about in my retirement are groceries, entertainment, investment, savings, prom dresses, and weddings. I do know that I'm gonna have to pay for 2 weddings in the future, and both daughters' college are paid for. I was blessed with a tremendous family that has helped in my daughter's education, and I don't have the expense of college education right now. Once that money's out, if they haven't graduated and they become career students, then I may have to pay for college tuition, but at this time I don't have to pay for that. Some examples of expenses that I am keeping track of or thinking about in the budgeting process. I know what my monthly expenses are. When I'm talking about budgeting, I'm not really talking about that right now. I'm talking about more of once I pay all my bills, house, utilities, phone, gas, all the house stuff, and just your regular bills, cable TV, all of those things. I'm thinking about if I have a certain amount of money to pay for groceries, gas, all the things. That's what I think about when I'm thinking about budgeting. So let's say it's between $1,500 and $2,000. That's pretty close. Well, if you are a coffee drinker that likes to go to Starbucks or 7 Brew or Dutch Bros, whatever it is, then you might be spending $7.50 on coffee, and now the tip, automatically it asks you for a tip. And if you multiply that by 30 days, if you go get takeout coffee every day, and I have friends that do it, I used to do it, I don't do it anymore. I've found my perfect coffee recipe that I make here at home. But if you drink coffee out every day, you're probably spending $225 a month in just coffee takeout. I calculated that last month, and then last month, which I wasn't being a real budget conscious person last month, but last month we spent, myself and both of my girls, well, I spent the money. It was about $310 on eating out, which wasn't as bad as I thought that it was going to be. Like, I was expecting eating out to be $500 or more. So I was pleased that that was all that we spent eating out last month. I don't want to forget subscriptions. I think everything is a subscription nowadays, and the apps that we have and television, it's almost like you can't do car wash. I forgot car wash subscription. That's already figured in my expenses, but I'm really monitoring my subscriptions. I am working on a no buy September video, and I've been recording little bits every day for that because I'm trying to not buy anything that I don't need this month. What does it feel like to not be on Amazon, to not subscribe to stuff just because, oh yeah, I want to try that, I'm going to subscribe to that. I'm also going through and making a list of what I'm going to stop buying altogether, things that I don't need now that I'm retired. A no buy list. I'm working on that as well. So those are coming up. All right, after this month, I will report back to you on how my first month of retirement expenses and budgeting went. And if you want to know more about Missouri teacher retirement, I'm going to link a video somewhere in this video that you can watch to learn a little bit more about Missouri retirement.